I'd like to start by acknowledging and welcoming Councillor Gary Beldam, AM, Gold Coast City Council, University Council member Anne Robalita Granista, Janelle Manders, our Friends of Griffith Business School Chair and Managing Partner HLB Man Judd, along with Friends Management Committee member Nathan Blair, Gold Coast Manager of Ord Minnett, and our Alumni Advisory Group member Andrew Stone, MD, EPS Australia. Welcome also to our representatives from the Office of the Commonwealth Games and Tourism and Event Queensland who have joined us today. Griffith, of course, is a proud sponsor of the Commonwealth Games, and we're delighted that our colleagues from these portfolios have joined us. And of course, I'd also like to welcome all our friends, our members of Friends from the Gold Coast business community with us here today, many of whom I know are also Griffith alumni. Before I start the formal proceedings, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we're meeting and pay my respects to their elders past and present, and I extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. And I'm really pleased to see you all today and to be able to officially welcome you to this, the first of the Friends Griffith Business School events for 2017. And we have quite a packed programme for you today, more of that in a moment. But first, I just thought I'd very quickly reflect on the role of the Friends. I know that many of you are already staunch supporters of the Friends of Griffith Business School, and you'll be aware of the opportunities that membership affords. But for those of you who are perhaps with us for the first time, it's probably worth providing a little bit of context. So the Friends was launched in 2015. The group was created to promote further engagement between the Gold Coast business community and the business school. And participants in the Friends can take advantage of a range of activities, a range of services, if you like, within the school, including opportunities to collaborate with thought leaders, to access student interns through our internship programs, to access the latest business research, as we'll see today, and really offers terrific networking opportunities, such as today's event, which allow you to gather with like-minded Gold Coast-based business owners. And the Friends is a wonderful initiative, and Janelle and her colleagues on the management committee are to be thanked for making it the success it's become in such a relatively short period of time. And that success can be measured, at least in part, by the turnout for today's event. We're at capacity today, and there was in fact a wait list. Now, the Friends initiative is, I think, indicative of the fact that the business school and the university are highly invested in the Gold Coast region. And Griffith University is, of course, the Gold Coast region's only comprehensive university. It's being research intensive and offering a diverse range of programs. And the quality of what we do means we're ranked in the top 3% of universities worldwide. And that quality is also reflected in the scholarship and education that we offer through the Griffith Business School. Indeed, the most recent QS University Subject Rankings, which are very prestigious rankings, were published about a month ago now, and they reflect that quality. And I'm delighted to tell you, perhaps remind you, that GBS and Griffith was ranked first in Australia and 9th globally for hospitality and leisure management. That politics and international studies received a top 100 ranking, that sports-related subjects, including sports management, again taught here in the business school, were ranked in the top 100, that business and management received a top 200 place, and that for the first time, economics and econometrics entered the rankings in the top 300. And those, let me assure you, are outstanding results in the face of very substantial global competition. So, thank you. Oh, thank you. So thank you, as you showed with your appreciation. That is a great result for the business school. But whilst it's great to receive those rankings and to celebrate them, we can't stand still. And the business school has to maintain momentum and continue to improve so that it's regarded as a leading provider of business education both at home and abroad. And with that in mind, over the last 12 months, we've been engaged in an ambitious strategic planning process within the school, drawing up a strategy that will take the school through to 2020 and beyond. So I've been asked to provide today a very short overview, and I believe, I assure you it will be short, an overview of the strategy for you. And in fact, this is the first public event where we've promoted the strategy, and I'm delighted to be able to do so. One of the simplest ways of promoting a strategy is not for me to talk, but to show it to you visually. And one of the things that we chose to do in promoting our strategy was to create an animation for it. And that summarises the strategy in about 2 to 2.5 minutes. So we might have a quick look at that, if we may.
A new phase of development is underway at Griffith Business School, one that will enable us to equip our students to manage the challenges and leverage the opportunities that will prevail in 2020 and beyond. Our success will be built on collaboration with business, government and the wider community, so as to contribute to a prosperous, equitable and sustainable future. Our distinctive strategy is built around 4 core priorities: a remarkable student learning experience, high impact research, enhancing our engagement and strengthening our staff. To prepare our students for the future world of work, we will invest in more digitally enabled learning spaces and offer more innovative degrees with a focus on employability. Our portfolio of offerings will deliver globally connected and highly sought after graduates with a blend of cutting-edge professional skills and critical thinking, which will enable them to contribute to an economy and society increasingly driven by digital innovation. At Griffith Business School, we are committed to research that demonstrates academic rigour and independence, whilst delivering social and economic benefit to business, government and the wider community. Strong relationships with our partners is key to our success. With a long history of engagement with Asia, we are uniquely equipped to enhance our strong ties in this dynamic economic region. We will continue to build on our existing relationships and develop new at a local, to engage with impact. Our people underpin all that we do. We will foster a mindset that celebrates agility and diversity. We will strategically recruit, retain and develop remarkable people who will contribute to a forward-thinking, transformational and inspiring community. Our strategy is distinctive and builds on our existing strengths and core values to advance innovative and socially responsible business education, scholarship and practice in Australia and the Asia region. We look forward to working with you to continue building a forward-focused, future-ready business school.
Phew. Thank you. So what is the old adage? Never work with children, animals and technology, I think. Okay. As I said, we spent the last 12 months working on this strategy, building it up. I won't go through the actual strategy development process, but I did want to just draw attention to a few things very quickly. The vision that lies behind the strategy, this idea of advancing innovative and socially responsible business education, scholarship and practice in Australia and the Asia region, that is a vision that's fundamental to the school. And it plays to many of the values, the traditional values that underpin Griffith itself, the institution itself. Socially responsible business, you know, the Griffith's values of social justice and so on come through there. The mission we're particularly want to draw particular attention to because many business schools that you go to, when you look at their mission statement, they talk about scholarship and education, they talk about research and teaching. They very often fail to talk about engagement. And what we're trying to say here is that it's through engagement that we really strengthen our business education and research offerings. And that it really is important to us, it lies at the heart of everything that we do. And that we're trying to add value through those activities to economic and social value to the communities that we serve. The values remain actually pretty much as they were prior to us drawing up this new strategy. That's to say that these are values that the business school has been built on in recent years. We didn't feel that actually we needed to change them significantly. They cover pretty much everything that we stand for and we want to achieve. Our strategic priorities, as you heard in the animation, or heard generally in the animation through some of the distortion, apologies for that. Delivering a remarkable student learning experience is based on revising our portfolio of programme offerings, both at undergraduate and postgraduate levels, and revising them in such a way that they provide cutting-edge professional knowledge combined with personal and communication skills such as critical thinking and innovation. And those are that kind of combination will distinguish our graduates, we believe, from others. There will be a heightened emphasis on employability-related content in our programmes and more practice-based learning, such as work-integrated learning and placements. And underpinning this process, or underpinning this experience, will be more digitally enhanced learning, using technology to really enhance the learning experience in positive ways. We also will have a heightened emphasis on what we call high impact research. Now, high impact research, and in a sense, we'll see a little bit of that today. High impact research is about, obviously, research that's academically rigorous, that's independent, and that is highly esteemed among our academic peers. But it's also much more than that. High impact research means that it's research that reaches out into the community that we work with and that has real value add, whether it be economic, social, or other. But it's a real value add. It's applied research that does something that makes a difference to people's lives or their working lives. That's what we're about with high impact research. And then enhancing our engagement, well, that's fundamentally important to us. It's about knowledge transfer, but knowledge transfer that's two ways, in the sense that we want to engage with the business, government, social communities that we work with at an even more intensive level. And we want to do that both regionally, nationally and internationally. We want to do so in a way that, as I say, is about knowledge transfer in two directions. It means that, yes, we learn from our engagement in ways that enriches the curriculum that we deliver and in ways that really enhances the research activity that we undertake in the business school. But at the same token, we hope that that engagement actually adds value to your organisations, to business and to government and to the community more broadly. And then the fourth and final of our strategic priorities is strengthening of our staff. This doesn't mean that we're actually sending them to the gym. It means that we're looking to really build and strengthen our capability within the business school, both academic and professional staff, so that we can deliver on the first three of those strategic priorities more effectively. We'll be communicating our strategy in events like today. We've communicated to over 40,000 people through EDM using the animation, and I hope it played better than it did today. We also have a full document and a corporate brochure, which I believe are on the table with you today, and we urge you to go away and take a look at those. They give you a real flavour of what we're about and what we're hoping to achieve with the strategic priorities. Many initiatives, as with all good strategies, many of these initiatives are already underway. You'll have an opportunity today to look at the new flipped classroom that's here on the Gold Coast campus, and that is a digitally enabled learning space that really offers state-of-the-art technology to really enrich the students' learning experience, and it's already being very, very extensively used. I've mentioned a review of our programme portfolio. That is already underway, and as of next year, for example, in the master's space, we'll be offering some new master's offerings. And the content on some of those programmes will be pretty special. There'll be an increased focus on employability, as I've already mentioned. That has already started. That's underway. We're looking to extend our WIL offerings, and also there are other new initiatives that are already in place, and you've heard about on previous occasions the new e-career coaching, online coaching programme that we're offering for our students. And I encourage you to, if you haven't already, to join up on that as coaches. That's enough about the strategy. You can find out more from the website and from the content that you've got. The critical thing for this audience is, where does this strategy take us in relation to the business school and the Gold Coast business community? As I've said, heightened engagement is a key strategic priority in our strategy, and that includes engagement at the local level and with the Gold Coast business community. And there is in fact a section in the document, the main document, in which we talk about how the school can work even more closely with the Gold Coast business community so as to assist in the continuing development and growth of the region's economy. And that, of course, is what the remainder of today's programme is about. So later we'll have a session led by our Dean Research, Professor Andrew O'Neill, in which the results of a study carried out by the business school regarding the Gold Coast economy and the forthcoming Commonwealth Games will be presented. The results are going to be presented by Joan Carlini, who will then sit down with a panel of business people and discuss what they mean, the business opportunities that they point to, and what sort of preparations the Gold Coast business community needs to be thinking about and perhaps putting in place in order to leverage these opportunities as we move towards the Games, which are less than 12 months away now. And our running projects like the one Joan's going to present and providing reports that have an applied value and that can be used by business as they plan and which can help inform their practice. It's part of the process of engagement that I've just talked about, and it also resonates with that idea of high impact research of value to you. And you can expect more of those kind of projects, and what we'd like to do in the future is establish some kind of business research unit solely dedicated to producing high impact research of the type I've mentioned, independent, rigorous and applied, and research that focuses on issues of critical importance to the Gold Coast economy and the community, the business community in particular. Research that they can use in order to plan and advocate more effectively for Gold Coast business interests. And Janelle will return to that opportunity when she speaks in a moment. It's now just for me to say a few quick thank yous. I want to thank my colleagues Andrew O'Neill, Natasha Very and Joan Carlini for helping to put the event together today. Thanks also to our panellists. Andrew will introduce them formally later, but I want to personally thank Amery, Burleigh, John Hart, Kerri, Jekyll and Laura Younger for their making the time to be with us and agreeing to be on the panel. I'm sure it's going to be a lively and stimulating discussion. And once again, thank you for joining us at this event today. I'm delighted that the university and the business school is associated with such a vibrant and enthusiastic organisation as the Friends. The continued growth of the Friends and its connection with us will, I'm sure, allow us to work together and produce high-value research and other outcomes that are in the best interests of the Gold Coast. So enjoy the good food and the great company. Enjoy also listening to the presentations and participating in the ensuing discussions. Thanks very much. It's now my pleasure to welcome Janelle to the rostrum.
Thanks, David. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Well, today we're receiving a glimpse into the future. We've heard from David about some amazing things that the business school is doing with the strategies, and soon we'll be hearing about the Commonwealth from Professor Andrew O'Neill and Dr Joan Carlini about the Commonwealth Games, the future not only before the Games, during the Games, but also after the Games, and what businesses should be doing to take advantage of this awesome opportunity. But we're also experiencing what collaboration means between the business school and the Gold Coast business. Today, we're being offered a glimpse, I'm even going to call it a teaser, of what we can actually be delivered with effective, rigorous research and professionalism, assisted by good old business know-how. It's long been an aim of the Friends to bring to greater collaboration between the business school and the Gold Coast business community, particularly the SMEs and privately owned businesses that are the mainstay of our Gold Coast economy. A collaboration that benefits the business school within and our greater community. Today, we think it's happened. David called the initiative a research-based unit. Being a business person, I actually like to think it more commercially, and I'd like to call it a member-based environment. Something that actually brings together thought leadership and cutting-edge, publicly researched and policy research that's going to focus purely on our Gold Coast community, that's actually going to drive growth and profitability and sustainability for our businesses here. So it's fine to talk about it, but what's it mean? How do you think of it? You can talk about, you can talk about think tanks, you can actually talk about what does it mean? I can stand up here and wax lyrical about it, but unless we can show you how effectively this can be for all your businesses, you won't be a part of it. Well, today we're going to show you practically how business can benefit. Today I'm hoping that from our discussion you'll actually get some ideas of how to plan, how to actually benefit for your businesses from the Gold Coast community. Today it's a call to arms. Today is all about actually saying, will you come on this journey with us? Will you actually, over the next few months, we're going to be calling for members, sponsors and supporters of this initiative. We haven't got a name for it yet. This is only the start, but big things will happen. So welcome and be a part of our journey. So today I'd like to introduce Dr Joan Carlini, who's actually going to be talking to you about the research findings and then assisting Professor Andrew O'Neill with the panel. So excuse me, I'll just read some of Joan's skills, and this is the calibre of people that we have on the on the Gold Coast. So Jones actually has a PhD and is a lecturer in our Department of Marketing, and she specialises in corporate social responsibility. Her experience includes developing and managing marketing and communication strategies, and she's had significant industry experience. She's also a qualified chef and has managed restaurants at leading Gold Coast hotels. Talking about chefs and restaurants though, it's always good that we're close to lunch. Enough to make you hungry. So lunch will now be served, and after that we'll hear from Joan. So please, bon appetit. Enjoy.
Hi everyone. So, excuse me, sorry for interrupting. Well, I am interrupting and I'm sort of not interrupting because the next thing on the agenda for today is a presentation from Dr Joan Carlini. My name's Andrew O'Neill. I'm Research Dean in the Griffith Business School. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr Carlini, who is going to talk to us over the next 15 or so minutes on the project that's currently underway in the Griffith Business School, Gold Coast Business and the Commonwealth Games, Impact, Legacy and Opportunity, and then to be followed by a Q&A session. So, Joan, over to you. Thanks.
Hello, and thank you for coming today. So, my name's Joan Carlini, and I'm going to be talking about the Commonwealth Games and what it means for businesses on the Gold Coast. So, with the Gold Coast set to host the 21st Commonwealth Games, is less than a year away. So, the purpose of this presentation is actually to cut through the complexity and assist businesses to set realistic expectations. So, from today's presentation, you'll be able to develop an understanding on the changing business environment that the Commonwealth Games is bringing. Firstly, a little bit about the study. So the project was initiated by the Friends of Griffith Business School, and the key research question was to understand how the Commonwealth Games will impact Gold Coast businesses. So I spoke to 34 people in the last 4 months, so 10 from private enterprise, including finance, tourism, IT and supply, 4 from local and state government, 7 from non-government, so industry groups, and 13 experts from the areas of sport, event, legacy, HR and clinical psychology, to name a few. And at this stage, I'd really like to thank those people that participated in the study. And what I'd also like to say is this is just a very small snapshot. We're actually writing a more comprehensive report that will be available later in the month. So just very small, what we've got to talk about today. So this is the reason we're all here. It's the Commonwealth Games. So in less than a year, the Commonwealth Games will be on top of us, and we're expecting 6,500 athletes and a global audience of 1.5 billion. So I heard Premier Beattie on the radio this morning talking about that as well. So the Commonwealth Games has brought community excitement. It's a once-in-a-generation opportunity that is set to deliver economic benefits, new sporting and infrastructure jobs to boost tourism and volunteering opportunities. So according to the Griffith Uni Gold Coast Bulletin Confidence Poll, the Commonwealth Games has boosted business confidence on the Gold Coast. In total, 94% of respondents are confident that the Commonwealth Games will boost the local economy. So before we can move forward, it is important to look back over past events. Okay, there's lots of past events to choose from, but in particular, we're going to look at Glasgow, Sydney Olympics, as well as Barcelona, and I've chosen them for specific reasons. So the most recent Commonwealth Games was held in Glasgow in 2014. It was the largest multi-sport event ever to be held in Scotland, and the Games were heralded a success. But an opportunity cost analysis actually found that the public money spent on the Games, if spent elsewhere in the economy, could have generated similar economic effects. Okay, Sydney. So a report prepared for the Sydney Games bid predicted that the Games would add $7.3 billion to the economy, but an analysis found that in purely measurable economic terms, there was a net consumption loss of $2.1 billion. However, in saying that, it's not all doomsday. The legacy of the Games was to improve their sporting capacity, which brought about the Rugby World Cup, the World Masters Games, as well as the 2018 Invictus Games. Okay. So Barcelona is a really interesting case. So although it was in 1992, Barcelona had a development plan that actually preceded the Games. So the Games accelerated this development plan. So what Barcelona did, it opened itself to the sea, including renovating the marina and cultural attractions and regenerating old districts. So post-Games, Barcelona benefited heavily from tourism. In fact, 10 years after the Games, tourism supply and demand was up by 100%. And 30 years later, so I had a quick look, and in 2015, tourism demand is actually up 200%, so from that original date. It is interesting to note that there has been a study of 16 different mega events, and what they have found is that hosting a mega event does not significantly affect employment or income. Okay, so therefore it's really important that the outcome for hosting is that expenses are linked to supporting the long-term infrastructure of the city. So that's the key message from looking into the past. So the Gold Coast has undergone massive regeneration with a surge of investment leading up to the Games. The city's infrastructure has benefited mostly with funding on community facilities, sporting venues and transport. And in fact, you can't go anywhere without seeing something new happening. So this weekend, the intersection at Parklands Drive will be closing. And if you come along Smith Street, you can see the light rail in full swing as well. So there's absolutely development everywhere. What is really unique to the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games is actually the footprint. So the Games events are distributed from Cairns, Townsville, Brisbane, down to Coolangatta. So for someone who grew up near Cairns, I know that's more than 2,000 kilometres away. So even in our more local area, Chandler, where the shooting is occurring, to Coolangatta is 100 kilometres. And even Coomera to Coolangatta is 50 kilometres. So you can see that the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games has a very large or wide, or long even, footprint. So from an urban planning perspective, the distribution supports the natural linear function of the Gold Coast. However, this widespread footprint may create congestion, disruption to a number of communities, as you can see right from the top to the bottom of the Gold Coast. Okay, so we're at the important part now. We're looking at what the changing Gold Coast factors are. Okay, so I've broken it into two sections. Firstly, we can identify what the benefits are, and then we can identify what the potential challenges might be. So increased demand, it's clear and immediate benefit for the Gold Coast with accommodation already booked with official visitors, and also with tourism supply, a number of new properties opening in time for the Games. We have the Mantra opening at Sharks down the road from here. Airbnb is expected to house a growing number of Games tourists, especially considering the spread of events is away from the traditional glitter strip. Civic pride, another benefit. Early registration of 47,000 applicants for the 15,000 volunteer positions available shows that Gold Coasters are enthusiastic. Okay. And there's also potential for this social capital to transfer to other community agencies. So that's something that's very important that we need to consider as well. A lever for future events and developing the sport industry. The Gold Coast increase in capabilities and infrastructure places it in a leading position to secure future events, national sporting organisations, as well as training camps. Improved the Gold Coast image, as we mentioned earlier, the international reach will be 1.5 billion. The Gold Coast is not a capital city and therefore can benefit substantially in terms of increasing awareness and reputation. And there's also an opportunity to diversify our destination brand into education and IT. So supporting the destination that we already have, but really looking to diversify a little bit as well. The accelerated infrastructure that I've already mentioned on the Gold Coast. So the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games has been instrumental in facilities that are in the interest of the city's future. So while there are benefits associated with the Games, and they are notable, it is imperative to understand that there are a lot of potential challenges as well. So firstly, with the change in tourist type, the Games visitors are generally focused on the sporting event and do not have a lot of leisure time. And it's important to understand that they will typically displace our normal tourists, which are business as well as adventure tourists. Okay. There's also something called a switching off, like an aversion of locals. So there is an opportunity that locals may switch off and depart from the Gold Coast, temporarily of course. However, while a lot of people, when they think about the Commonwealth Games, think about tourism businesses, this will actually hurt a lot of other types of business. And so the demand decrease that businesses can expect is up to 40%. So that's a really important figure when Gold Coasters actually leave the Gold Coast. Disruption to business. So businesses also need to think about traffic restrictions, staffing issues, staff wanting to volunteer or attend the events. Also, we've identified that Airbnb is a disruptor to accommodation as well. There's also an unequal distribution of business. So businesses that fall in the shadow of an event may actually suffer, thank you John for telling me about this, less demand due to the noise and foot traffic. So this is something that probably hasn't been highlighted in the past either. So depending on where your business is located, you actually might find a decrease in demand because of the foot traffic that it allows, or the road closures. Finally, the Commonwealth appeal is limited to 52 countries that are generally far removed. The time difference can affect TV coverage. But however, on the other hand, looking at the population boom expected for the Gold Coast, the coverage could enhance the employer brand of the destination and influence migration. So that could be a positive. So if we look at leveraging, so cross-sectorial leveraging, a firm can leverage on two levels. Firstly, there's at a firm level. But what we have found from past events is that we know that 60% of firms actually won't participate in activities to leverage events. For them, it's business as usual. And what I'm here today to tell you is that in actual fact, it's not business as usual, and you can be in control of the benefits that your business receives. Okay. So on a firm level, the aim is to increase revenue through impulse buys, using promotions, extended hours, and like I said, we talk more about this in the physical report. On a coordinated level, the idea is to enhance the atmosphere of the precinct, using promotions, theming, but also thinking about alliances as well as resource sharing, and that will be very important. So if there is at a firm level as well as at a coordinated level, these two approaches will actually produce benefits for the greater Gold Coast good. So for the Gold Coast to truly benefit, we actually need firms doing their part individually as well as on a coordinated level. And so we're lucky enough today that we actually have Laura on the panel, who's from the Surfers Paradise precinct, that will tell us a little bit about how they do things. So just quickly, going on to this business ready checklist. So this is not for tourism businesses, it's actually a tool for everyone to start thinking. I've got a little example. I was talking to an accountant maybe a couple of months ago now, and he was saying to me that in actual fact they want to scale down over the Commonwealth Games, and so they were going to use promotional tools to encourage their normal customers to submit their tax before April the 4th, so that they could actually allow their staff to attend the event, as well as buy tickets and have, take their customers to the event. So what this means is you really have to think outside the square. So if you are a tourism business, okay, you can think there's a good chance that I will be directly affected. But if you're not a tourism business, there's a really great opportunity for you to think, okay, well, if my staff are going to have trouble getting to work, is it possible for me to, engage in new practices, work from home? Admittedly, that's not always the case. So I'll just go through these. So first of all, you'll have to ask yourself, will demand increase or decrease? And so that will depend a lot on the factors that I've spoken about. And John Hart, who is also on our panel today, he has experience from the Sydney Olympics as well as the Melbourne Commonwealth Games. And so he's going to talk to you a little bit about demand and how it can increase or decrease. So we're really lucky to have John come up from Sydney today. So whether or not you are a tourism business, you do need to think about, okay, you know, will my demand go up and down? And if it is going up, where are you going to get your human resources from? For a 2-week period, is it going to be worth you being able to hire new staff? Or are you going to be able to resource share from other organisations that are choosing to scale down? Okay. How will disruption affect your business? So really think about your staff, your customers and suppliers. If you're down at Currumbin and you've got the bike race going past your shop, that's a really great opportunity to create some promotion, have a party, invite your customers around. So, you know, really thinking outside the square is going to be the opportunity that I'm trying to encourage today. So how can your business leverage events? So at a firm level, can you improve your business appeal to suit visitors? So that's thinking about the changing visitor. Okay, for that 2-week period as well as the shoulder period, you know that the visitor will change. So have a think, you know, is my business ideally situated? Does it have everything in place that it requires? For example, if you're at Nerang and that's where the mountain biking will be on one day, you know, have a think about it. Okay, what do people that are going to the mountain biking, what are they going to require? Is my business set up for this if you're at Nerang, for example? Can you diversify into different customer base? So if your normal customer is not going to be around, is there an opportunity to diversify into other customer bases? So there's a lot of literature that talks about aversion tourism. So quite often they have like Olympic-free zones where locals can head to. So these are some other thoughts to have a think about. Are there opportunities for in-store promotion? So basically that's to extend the stay and impulse buy. But as well as other promotions, think about cross-promoting. So if you would not normally cross-promote, really think about your strategic alliances and think about how you can cross-promote for this particular instance. At a precinct level, you can identify an industry or state body that can assist you. So we're lucky enough today to have both in the room. I'm not sure where they are, but I'm sure maybe after the talk they can identify themselves. We've got state and local government as well as industry groups. And at a coordinated level, that is really what is required. Okay, you can't just do it yourself. You do need bodies to assist you. But also, what partners can you establish relationships with as well? So think now as well, you know, thinking about who your organisation can link with, whether it's resource sharing or sharing expertise or promotions or, you know, I think the main purpose of this is to think outside the box. And my history is in marketing, so I do go that way a little bit. Okay, so in summary, it's clear that hosting the Commonwealth Games raises a mix of benefits as well as potential challenges. Achieving the most positive outcome requires an understanding of the environment and its effects. So the Commonwealth Games also provides a snapshot which allows businesses to contemplate their long-term strategies. So that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Well, that really sets us up wonderfully, I think, for what I think is going to be a fantastic panel discussion. If I could ask the 4 panellists to just come up to the front. And while you're doing that, I'll very briefly tell you a bit about the 4 of our panellists before posing each of them a question. Not too difficult, and I promise I won't be too authoritarian as the chair today. Our first panellist is Amery Burleigh. Amery is General Manager of the Sofitel Gold Coast Broadbeach. Prior to her appointment as General Manager, Amery was the Executive Assistant Manager at the Sofitel Brisbane Central. Amery has vast experience in 5-star hotels, much of which was gained in the United States and in Australia, where she's worked her way up through all areas of food and beverage across a range of cities. And I'm reliably informed that Amery hails from a place called Carmel in California that reportedly has the highest ratio of restaurants and art galleries per capita of any place in the world.
That's good.
Laura Young is our second panellist. Laura is General Manager, Australian Timeshare and Holiday Ownership Council. For the past 10 years, She's been in this role for the past 10 years and is currently the chairperson of the Queensland Tourism Industry Council's Association Council. Laura is an experienced senior manager in service-oriented organisations with expertise in business, operational and strategic planning, with an outstanding track record of success in introducing sound commercial business practices for service-focused organisations. And Laura, of course, is chair of the Surfers Paradise Alliance, as well as being Deputy President of the Gold Coast Central Chamber of Commerce. Our third panellist today is Kerri Jekyll. Kerri's the owner of the Get Wet Surf School, which started as a hobby business in 2005. I'm reading from the bio here. Kerri's previous experience was in small business management, marketing and hospitality, along with her partner, Andrew, had extensive experience working in water sports and hospitality with a passion for surfing. From the very start, the company's ethos has been to provide, quote, an iconic, memorable Gold Coast experience for customers, identifying as a tourism business as opposed to a school. And in 2015, Get Wet Surf School won the Queensland Tourism Industry Council's Award for Innovation in Tourism. Our final panellist, John Hart, is CEO of the Restaurant and Catering, CEO of Restaurant and Catering Australia. John was appointed to this role in 1999, and he came to the association from Tourism Training New South Wales, where he was Executive Officer for 5 years. John currently serves as Chair of the Commonwealth Vocational Education and Training Advisory Board and the National Tourism Alliance, and John is on the Prime Minister's Business Advisory Council, as well as being on the board of the National Centre for Vocational Education Research. Welcome, panellists. Now, I'm going to pose the first question today to Amery. And Amery, my question is this. I think you might have an inkling about what the question will be, but for everyone else's benefit, how do you see the Commonwealth Games in 2018 affecting the future Gold Coast tourism industry?
Well, I think it's really exciting, actually. I've been on the Gold Coast for 5 years, and what I've seen is this shift from kind of a cheap and cheerful destination for families with kind of one message going out to tourism. And with the Commonwealth Games coming up, you've seen this shift in the entire collective consciousness on the Gold Coast towards collaboration. And I'm so pleased to hear it through Joan's presentation and through David's presentation, that it is this collaboration that together we are going to be seen on the world market as grown up, as efficient, and the things that we're going to benefit long term from are at a personal level, that anyone working and functioning and directing over this Commonwealth Games period is going to become a much better business person. You're going to step outside of your comfort zone. There's going to be periods where you're going to be challenged and your business may not necessarily benefit from it. And it's going to take you to sit down and look at how you can benefit. And when you go through those exercises, you grow, no matter what your business is. And the collaboration that we are doing within our industry in hospitality is we are reaching out to our colleagues who have worked in the markets where they've been in a big event. And we're learning from them, and we're translating this into kind of a unique destination so that we can benefit from the lessons. And the collaboration with the university, and we're working with Joan, has given us insight into what to expect and has allowed us to go and build these relationships so that moving forward, together, the entire Gold Coast is grown up. And we are going to be seen in a much different light. And with the millions and billions of people watching us, it's going to be very clear that we are now on the world stage and we are able to function, because these games are going to go off where there's so much access to information and to the collaboration and experience out there. We are all going to be able to take that and deliver the best games ever. And then long term, of course, it's going to keep demand for tourism up, and we are going to change our market, and there are going to be bigger functions, because we're going to have the most beautiful city, and people are going to say, this is where we want to be. But we are going to grow up as an industry to be able to deliver a better tourism experience, no matter whether it's at a surf school, at a hotel, with the major events. And the food scene on the Gold Coast is one of the most exciting things, to see us really bringing a level of sophistication and experiential dining that really meets every market. So from what I've seen being on the coast for 5 years, I'm really pleased to see that we have matured. And we're going to go out and send a really strong message to the world that this is an amazing place to have an event, to come and visit, to come experience what's on offer.
Thanks, Amery. Laura, question for you. Now, Surfers Paradise Precinct frequently holds events such as the Surfers Paradise live event that was held last weekend. What do you think are the key factors that make these events successful?
Look, it's really interesting. But firstly, thank you to Janelle and the Friends of Griffith for inviting me to be engaged with you today. Of the Gold Coast, so I have to be boldly proud because we are the economic engine of the Gold Coast. I mean, one of the things when you're looking at events, I think apart from the organisation of the physical event. If you look at a precinct like Surfers, on any average day we have 50,000 people in the precinct. So anything we do, we need to look at what are we going to do to bring in over and above that, because we're already going to have those people. If you take a Friday or a Saturday night, we've already got 60, 70 plus thousand in the precinct. So, if we're only going to get another 5 or 10,000 point in doing things. So if you take an event like Surfers Paradise Live, which was run over the last weekend, and I hope a number of you got in there, because I certainly went and watched the Mentals and the Veronicas and various others. We had around 60,000 over and above what we would normally have in the precinct come through. So with us, it's really about looking at how you're going to measure what you're achieving. We do have footpaths, or what we call traffic counting technology, which is basically, if you go into the precinct, it zings your phone. It doesn't tell us who you are, what you are, but it does tell us where you are. It tells us how long you're there. And what it allows us to do is to actually measure how many people are in the precinct, so that when we report to council at any given time, because we are a controlled entity of council, we can report quite clearly what the outcome of our activities are. And just recently, as an example, we reported the 6 monthly, and that was that we had brought in through our events across the last 6 month period 770,000 extra people with a gross output of 53 million into that precinct. Our board are very clear on what we want to achieve. We could run 2 or 3 really, really, really big events, but we don't see the value in that, because we feel that what happens there is that the precinct becomes over-compressed. People can't get into coffee shops, they can't get into restaurants, they can't get into bars. So we have a clear policy direction whereby we actually activate around 300 days a year, although a number of those days are the Surfers Paradise markets, which we run. But we're very clear in our instruction in that it is about bringing the number of people into the precinct. The precinct needs to be comfortable, people need to enjoy themselves. And to take on the comment made earlier, one event doesn't suit everybody. When we have Kids Week, that does nothing for the clubs. It's just very interesting because it does change quite dramatically. I'll give you an example of one event that we actually don't run, and I won't name it, but Surface Precinct during the day of that weekend drops by 30% under our normal average. It's really interesting. So it's about knowing what you want to achieve in the end, and then making sure you're organised and able to report on it, so you know your outcomes.
Thanks, Laura. That's terrific. Kerri, based on your own past experience with events on the Gold Coast as a tourism operator, how will you approach the Commonwealth Games in 2018?
A little bit different to most people, I think. So we're 12 years old now, and so we've been able to start to see a really good pattern emerge about how the different events affect our industry and how we operate. Obviously, traffic is a huge issue, so we have to be very conscious of that. We've got to transport people from their hotels to the beach, so that's going to be a major concern for us that we need to look at. We generally find that we scale right back during events such as the Gold Coast 600, at Schoolies in particular, which is quite surprising since we are a youth tourism industry. Schoolies does nothing for us. Pan Pacific Masters, all sorts of different events we do scale back for. In the past, these events have actually they've actually operated outside of school holiday times. This time it's going to be a little bit different. It's actually the Commonwealth Games, as you all know, are right smack in the middle of our Easter school holidays. It's going to affect us very much because the Easter school holidays is the holidays that we benefit most from the local community. So a lot of the local people don't go away. They tend to play at home for those holidays. They come and bring their kids and put them into surfing programs and things like that. So that will affect us. But it's not all doom and gloom. It's going to be quite positive. The other reason that it affects our business as well when there are major events in or outside of school holidays is because our target market is the youth market. So when we've got events like Gold Coast 600, people are coming here. Our usual market get priced out of the industry because of accommodation. It becomes very scarce and they can't come and book into their hotels like they normally would. Also, people who tend to come here for events are here for the event. They're not here to partake in other activities as well. So we do lose business during those. The other reason is, so some of the positive effects that we're going to see, obviously we work very heavily with Gold Coast Tourism, so we call ourselves media whores. We put our hands up for every type of media event that we possibly can. We do lots of industry for meals, we do VIP customers for the Gold Coast City Council, we do all sorts of that sort of thing. So we'll get a lot of spotlight leading up to the event. So we'll be saying, hey, come and, if anybody's coming to town, any media, anything like that, come and bring them surfing with us. So we get a lot of social media benefit from that side of it. We also obviously the Gold Coast is going to be very much highlighted as well. So during the event, no, we're not going to be doing much, but the Gold Coast is going to be put on a world stage. So we're obviously going to benefit from that. On a personal side of it, because it is, we know that our business is going to be very quiet during our predominantly very busy time of the year. I'm going to take my family on a holiday for the first time during school holidays, which hasn't happened in 12 years. We're going to take advantage of the Airbnb situation. We'll rent our house out for the 2 weeks and we'll disappear. So, which is something that we've never been able to dream of during school holiday time. So we are very mindful that we'll be back on deck, ready to hit hard as the New South Wales school holidays kicks in straight after that. So
that's great. Thanks, Kerri. John, can I ask you, based on your past experience with the Sydney Olympics in 2000 and the Melbourne Commonwealth Games in 2006, what advice can you offer Gold Coast business in the lead up to next year?
Well, it's probably something that many businesses don't want to hear, but just to put my comments in context, I pulled off my computer yesterday a report that we did on Atlanta in 1996. And this report reflects exactly the same outcome as every major games event that we've been involved in since. And I went to Atlanta, then Sydney, then did a series of sessions with Beijing around the Olympics, and then the same sort of experiences around the Commonwealth Games. The bottom line is nobody's going to come out and say we're invested in this event, but there's no ROI at the time of the event going on for tourism and hospitality businesses. But that is the case. What we will find for businesses in our sector is the same as we found in Atlanta. In Atlanta, there was, in this report, there's 12 different quotes that say we should have learnt the lesson from LA. And every single event that I've seen in the game since has said we should have learnt the lesson from. And the bottom line is what will happen for a number of businesses at the time is that their business will drop very significantly. And that's because the way I think about it is you've got a total substitution of your market. So imagine that every customer that's going to walk in your door, that walks in your door day in and day out, is removed, and you plug in a totally different customer group. You plug out, like Kerri, all those people locally who are going to go away. They're going to escape. They don't want to be here. during the time that the games are on. And you will lose all your existing and current tourism market. And you're plugging out people that are spending significant amounts of money, whether they be international or domestic or local consumers, and you're plugging in this breed of games visitors. And they are totally different people. You know, they do not spend the sort of money that your current tourism markets spend, nor do they spend the money that your locals spend. And by the way, the locals that aren't going away are going to be hibernating, sitting at home, watching the television. Seriously. I mean, that's what happens during games events. And, you know, that's all part of the change in behaviour that goes on during these events. The really important lesson to learn is that businesses don't staff up. This is particularly in the hospitality sector, but more particularly in the hospitality food service sector. Do not staff up. Do not bring on additional staff. Do not think that the whole business is going to go off the charts, because it's 99% likely it will not, other than for very specific businesses that are in specific routes that are part of the foot traffic routes that people will come and go to events using those routes. But the businesses need to be very clear that those routes may not be the same as they are today, because obviously transport planning and people movement planning will change where those hotspots are. So you've got to be very clear that, you know, a business that is currently in a high traffic area may not be during the period of the games. So, you know, the advice that I would provide is think very, very carefully about where you're situated and what the likely impact is going to be, given there's this whole substitute effect, a total and utter transplant of the market, and businesses will be dealing with totally different people. Now, there are opportunities within that, you know, mobile food vendors, you know, existing businesses taking on those sort of contracts, catering contracts for some of the events that will be going on around the games. They are opportunities, but they're very specific opportunities. Just because there's going to be a significantly greater number of people, it's not going to be greater opportunity for many, many businesses, because it's totally different category of person, a totally different market that has totally different needs. It's not about double the people, double the revenue.
Thanks, John. Look, now's a great opportunity to pivot off some of the themes raised in the conversations we've just had, the responses to the questions, and indeed of Joan's presentation. So look, I'd just like to open the floor for questions. We've got about 10 to 15 minutes, if I stretch it a bit, for a Q&A session. So if you could just please raise your hand, say who you are, and if you could just keep the question brief, because I know there's going to be lots of hands. Right at the back.
Hi, my name is Erfan. I'm a small business owner in Surfers Paradise, and what he just mentioned, I was thinking about it for the past few months, and coming out from your mouth, it pretty much confirms it. My biggest question is, it's going to happen anyway, and I cannot, excuse me, do anything to stop that from happening. From your experience, what is the post strategies after these events? Because it's April. After it's going to finish, we're going to hit the low season in Gold Coast Surfers Paradise. It's going to be cold. It's around the tax season. People don't spend money. And if the locals have already been elsewhere, they already spend their money, so they won't be spending much money around the area. What strategies other cities have done post these events that small business owners like us, because we're not like Sofitel or bigger businesses that we don't have big resources to cover us up. And it's going to be quite hard on us. From your experience, what businesses have, specifically small businesses in food industry, I own 2 restaurants, have done?
Okay, who wants to take a shot at that?
Oh, I better have a bit of a shot at it.
Things he asked you.
I mean, the majority of the ROI from games events is before and after. And those that organise these events really need to focus on making sure that ROI is there after. That is, all of the promotion of the Gold Coast during the Games yields tourism results after the event. And that's why you're making the investment, right? So that you get that return down the track. But there is a hangover period after Games events. So the ROI does take some time to manifest. And I have to say that straight after the event, everyone that I've seen, there's a really big hangover time, like a month, a couple of months, where it takes a long time to get back into, you know, the mindset of visitation. And because of the time of year of the Commonwealth Games, that's going to come at a really bad time. So I think the reality is going to be you're going to have a hangover period. I would make sure that you're structuring to take account of that. It's not going to bounce back overnight. It's going to take some time to rebuild. But I would also say that during the period of the Games, if you want that ROI to manifest down the track, if you want to get the benefit of changing the impression and perception of the Gold Coast so you get a higher spending tourists coming after that hangover period expires, this is the time to really think about that opportunity. How do you position what is communicated during the Games to make sure that you get that benefit flowing in higher spending, higher yield visitors down the track? And really that's the opportunity, but it ain't going to happen in the weeks and months following. It will take some time to take the Barocca and get the hangover out of the way, and then you'll start to get those benefits accruing if you plan it out right at this point.
Thanks, John. A 1 month hangover sounds really scary.
Can I,
Trina.
sorry, Andrew,
Oh, sorry.
can I just also comment on that? I mean, it's obviously been quite a big discussion that we've been having at the Surfers Paradise Alliance. You know, what are we doing during that time and how is that going to work? And basically during that Games period, the Games will take over the Surfers Paradise precinct. And generally during that period, we would have a number of events and activities that we would run. So really what we're looking at doing is we won't be spending a brass razoo during that time. Our funds will then be allocated, and we've spoken about the hangover, and basically it has been suggested to us that we kick back in about a month after. So big events like Seafire, you know, that bring in an extra 50 to 70,000 people into the precinct. So those type of events will be then allocated to run afterwards, so that we can, you know, give people a little chance, but then pull them back in and get their wallets out again.
Thanks, Laura.
Hi, my name's Trina Hockley. I'm a supplier to the tourism industry, but my question isn't about that, because our benefit has been in the last year to make sure that all the tourism operators are upgraded and ready to go. So we are expecting a very big hangover. But my question's about service levels in hospitality. So there's been a lot of talk on the Gold Coast about that we had to lift our service levels. I don't know if that's been measured or is going to be measured. But what worries me is your comment that all these people should be scaling back. So these tourism people that are coming to our city are going to get a diluted effect of what we can offer. So will they come back?
Are they using? I suppose are you're saying it's a very different customer,
Yep.
and so is that customer going to? They kind of know what to expect. Is that not right?
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think the important thing in terms of building perception, in my experience, is how you pitch the Gold Coast during that period of the Games and prior. It's not that you're going to be getting the visitors that come here and stay during the Games back afterwards. So the investment is not so much in getting service levels where they need to be in a food service perspective for that period of the Games. I mean, the visitors that you've got at the Games, the people that are Games visitors, are not going to be the people that will come back and visit the coast down the track. The people that will be coming back, or the people that will be visiting, are those that you'll be promoting to during the Games. So I don't think it's a matter of building skills so you get return visitation over that period from the market that will be visiting during the Games. It's about how you pitch the Gold Coast during the Games in an outward way, how you promote while the games are being televised and those sort of things, that will give you the return visitation down the track. I mean, service levels obviously in an accommodation sense and all of those sort of surrounding services are obviously important to return visitation. But in my experience, you are dealing with a totally different group of visitors during that time, and they're not the ones that are going to come back and revisit.
But Trina, you'll be happy to know that there are some training programs that have been put in place that are being run by both QTIC and Gold Coast Tourism called
Not my host anymore.
Yeah. What is it? Not my.
What were we last time? Aussie hosts or something.
Be my guest. So there's certainly training programs that are being run out there to try and improve. But I think the other thing too is, and there was a fabulous example, I think, when the Commonwealth Games people, a few of them came to visit, and at 9 o'clock at night the restaurant was packing the tables up around them. So it's those sort of things that we've got to actually get people to buy into, later kitchens and so on.
Well, that's actually a really important point, I think, because if you think about this market replacement, the substitution effect that will take place, the market has a totally different expectation.
Late night.
And it's not just that they don't go out and necessarily spend on sitting down at a white tablecloth restaurant or whatever, but they also expect later dining, they expect cheaper dining, they expect different things, and trying to adjust to that and making sure that you can do that, for instance, around liquor laws, opening hours, being able to promote to serve drinks without meals later in the evening, those sort of things are all going to be real challenges to do within the regulatory environment, let alone everything else.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got time for a couple more questions, I think. Sure, down the front.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point about servicing, David, Gold Coast Tourism, servicing I guess the spectators that are here, and I think what's changed a lot over the course, especially of the last 10 years, is social media. I think we as a destination have less control over our brand now than we ever had before, because everyone has a Facebook account with a few hundred followers. These people will be using that social media all throughout the games as well. So while we as Gold Coast Tourism have recently launched a new brand a year out from the Com Games to try and do exactly what the panellists have said about trying to position the Gold Coast that we have grown up in, that we aren't just reliant on our wonderful theme parks anymore. We have grown up, there's a richer and a deeper experience. I think a lot of the previous events too, would you agree, have not really had the influence of social media, which is such a massive part now in controlling our brand, or less control of our brand than we've ever had before. So I think the service levels will still need to be important during the Com Games, because that is what will be portrayed out to literally probably more people than we will from television, if you know what I mean.
I think it's true.
But remember, we're Australia, and we're really friendly.
Yeah.
And we have that going for us already.
Yeah.
And we know what we're doing. We're more experienced. We do tourism really well.
We do. Yeah.
So, with the new branding, I see, yes, there's going to be changes in operating hours and levels of service, and there's going to be businesses that don't do well. And we know that our food and beverage is we're going to just close it, because we know we're not going to get that, and we're going to have to diversify. And we're thinking of, how do you understand that they do want cheap meals? So how does a 5-star hotel provide a cheap and cheerful little?
Yeah, exactly.
So, we have to think outside the box, and we're a calendar year. We're writing budgets that reflect that there is definitely a hangover, and that. I will say, on a positive note, if you're worried about the good news of after the hangover, is that the demand for business groups is quite good. Yeah. And everybody seems to be saying that they're saving up their money to come and see it when it's all shiny and new. So if you have a small business, just hang out through the hangover, because what's the inquiries that are coming into our industry, and we're probably the first stop before you guys find out what's happening, is really positive. Yeah. So I think social media is big, but remember, we're already so far ahead of the game because we're so friendly and warm and welcoming.
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna nail it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. We're going to nail it as well.
It doesn't affect me because we won't be here. But
Are you not warm? Or?
what about yourself? We're very heavily into social media with our business marketing, and if a lot of businesses leverage on the here and now with social media, so take advantages of instant specials or instant great hospitality, so the people that are here at the time can instantly spam out, I had the best hamburger on Instagram, then all of their friends who are in that circle are going to see it, and they'll be able to leverage on that, or instantaneous specials. There's all sorts of apps that you can get that can promote that sort of thing. If you're walking by here now, you can grab an instant bargain. So it's social media and technology is going to play a big part in the here and now marketing.
We were also talking earlier as a, as a group, and Kerri is shutting down her business and she has X amount of staff. Well, there's opportunities for them to go and work in security because they're looking for 2,000 security people. Or, as an example, deliveries are going to be coming into Surfers Paradise at 2 a.m. in the morning. How does a small restaurant deal with that? And so there's lots of, maybe, it's one way of sort of encouraging staff if you are looking at potentially reducing or closing during that time, that there are opportunities for staff to still get work during that period, which would be really, really helpful for the games as well.
Okay, thanks. We've got time for one more question. Sarah, you had your hand up.
Sarah Gardner from the Griffith Business School in the tourism area and hotel management. I'm just wondering about hotel availability. So we saw in Sydney that a lot of the hotel rooms were booked up by corporates, either sponsors or incentive travel. I noticed when the tickets went out, Mancha went out with an offer, have you booked your hotel room yet? Is there still opportunity within the city for mum and dad and the kids from Sydney and Melbourne to come up and stay on the Gold Coast, or are we pretty booked out at that time now already?
No, it's interesting. Just last week, we've been watching who's going on, who's the first person who's going to put a room out, and everybody can see. And it was like the little Pineapple Hotel was, some 2-star hotel, and their rooms were $1,200, and that was like 3 months ago. And nobody was bold enough to go and put a room out there because it is a sensitive time. Sydney, there was a lot of controversy around gouging, and so when we were doing, we wrote rates 6 years ago. And we gave them to Commonwealth Games, and there was a formula, and it said take your best night, and which is New Year's Eve traditionally, and just do CPI increase and put in parking and internet. And so that's how we came up with the rate. Now, the market hasn't necessarily, the Gold Coast market goes up and it goes down, and it hasn't necessarily in 6 years gone up. So the rates are out there. Just last week, everybody opened up rooms. So there's plenty of availability. The Games Committee haven't secured as many sponsors as they had hoped. They say they're on track, but they also understand that we as businesses, they're holding a lot of our rooms, and they haven't committed to us. And so we're literally saying we've got wait lists of people who want to come. And so there's 100% availability. There's all different rates out there, and it will just be, the Commonwealth Games are holding so many rooms in all of our businesses that we don't actually know. And if anybody's here from the Commonwealth Games, they've kind of told us end of July, they're going to have a plan of how many rooms they actually want from us. And then when that happens, then we will be able to release back into the market, and perhaps there will be even more availability. So don't listen to the fake news.
Yep.
There are rooms available, and there's every price range available, and there's not as much gouging as the media likes to talk about.
Yeah, I know. Also representing the accommodation sector, I'd like to encourage Gold Coast Tourism to remove Airbnb from their website. Because I think at the moment it's really about supporting our hotels and their members and not putting non-compliant organisations out there in front of them. But I just got the opportunity, so I thought I'd take it. So pass that back to Martin and Paul.
It is called a forum. It's called a forum. Okay, look, it's my really sad duty to wind this part of the proceedings up. Please join with me in thanking Amery, Laura, Kerri and John. Thank you.
Well, I must say the discussion and the research has gone beyond my wildest dreams. I think what we've learnt today is that, and why the Friends of the Business School were so intent on getting some research and discussion happening was it was all about businesses, not necessarily in the tourism market, but the small to medium enterprises, the private enterprises, to actually start thinking about what the world looks like post, either during the games or post. So I suppose from my drawing from that, the first thing I heard was for every business, be prepared. Consider what does your business look like before the games, during the games and after the games, taking account of customers, suppliers and staff. The other interesting thing, be strategic. How can we change our businesses for the better and learn the lessons from the Commonwealth Games? A united voice for Gold Coast. We're going to have the eyes of the Commonwealth on us, so we need to have a united voice that not only showcases visitor experience, but also shows that we are the best place to live and a great place to do business. A review of business, I suppose, being the accountant, what I heard very clearly from all people was innovate, disrupt, diversify, and I must say, please remember, cash is and always will be king. So in times of uncertainty, and we can go back to the Roman days, a stockpile of cash is always helpful. So particularly when you don't know what may happen. I'll probably leave you with the other thing that I do have on good authority is I'd like you all to thank Amery, Burleigh, Laura Younger, John Hart and Kerri Jekyll for an amazing panel. And the two people I think, well three, sorry, I should say, the two people that have been the most amazing in all this is Dr Joan Carlini and Professor Andrew O'Neill, who have taken the ball and really... The report, when you've had a teaser on what the information's going to be, everybody's going to benefit. So when the report comes out in about a month, stay tuned because it will knock your socks up. It's the only report on the Gold Coast that actually addresses specific business issues, and we can't wait to do it. So well done, both of you. It's been fantastic. To the people that talked to and provided your time to so we could gather the research, thank you. And to Professor David Grant for just being overseeing this whole process. It's been wonderful. So thank you one and all. It's now my privilege to actually invite you to go down to see a flipped classroom, the latest innovation for the business school. David mentioned don't look up because the ceiling is on a slow boat from China, but everything else is state-of-the-art and innovative. Thank you all for attending and goodbye. Thank you.